Dave Duerson was the defensive back charging through on Grogan, but picked up neatly by the New England line. Offside against the Bears. There's a man who has paid his dues. Veteran Steve Nelson, 12 years out of North Dakota State.
I'd say nobody worked harder today. It's something that people don't understand, I think, who haven't been a part of a team. On a day when you're losing, you often play so much harder and burn so much energy. You come out of here almost crawling, and yet nothing has gone right. Frustration. Oh, almost an inner rage along that sideline, but that and disbelief.
Robert Weathers hit by Duerson. Now here's Weathers at 222 and Duerson 20 pounds lighter. And was that a picture book tackle?
What a bright man, too. There's a great story out of the Ram playoff game. They said that as the Bears had gone into that 9-man front, that Dieter Brock had lined up, and Dickerson walked up to Brock and said, "You are going to audible, aren't you?"
Notre Damer, Duerson. 2nd and 2. Dent was offside. They'll go through the play. Derek Ramsey to the 28. Flags down. Reggie Phillips made the tackle. A gain of a dozen. We'll see if it counts.
Offsides. Number 95 on the defense. That penalty is declined. First down.
So with a score of 44-3 Chicago, New England a first down at the Bear 28.
In their eagerness to get to that football, Dent and one of the linebackers on the other side, Wilson, I believe. And I think Grogan using that cadence. He's always done that very well, barking the count. They finally got something going here, but it might be just a trifle late.
Most of that yardage coming here in the third quarter. Bad leg and all. Grogan scrambling to the 26-yard line, a gain of about 3. That Bear defense will be well represented in the Pro Bowl. Dent and Hampton, the 2 ends, Singletary and Wilson, 2 linebackers, and Duerson made it at a safety. And you wonder what Todd Bell, who was a Pro Bowler last year, playing Duerson's spot. He held out all year long. He lost this opportunity to be on a Super Bowl team.
Buddy Ryan said very simply he was the most important man in that defensive unit because he had to play linebacker, safety, had to handle so many responsibilities, and yet they have operated beautifully without him.
Richardson again getting a hand on a pass intended for Stanley Morgan. Going back to Al Harris and Todd Bell, the 2 Bears, 2 starters, 2 outstanding players who decided to sit out the year. There's a message there that really even the great ones are replaceable.
Well, and watch the frustration of a quarterback.
I think he felt he was hit late on that.
I think he did. And I'm not so sure he wasn't right.
He didn't see the ball. Well, Miss Morgan, that's not why he was reacting. And the Bears have called a timeout.
You know, it's also talking about Bell and Harris. How about a guy like Jim Osborne or Terry Schmidt, who retired last year after all of those losing years? And here are the Bears with the big score on the scoreboard and all the celebration to do. You almost say, oh, why couldn't I have just waited one more year?
Well, I know one thing. Al McGuire and Marv Albert, who did the basketball game preceding today's action. Gary Fensick, you know, he drove Al around. He's a former limo driver and security guard. He's out there on defense, and he might be rehired. We understand that Jim McMahon has been a focal point of the people behind the scenes here as you look at the handsome Fensick, a Yale University graduate. Here's McMahon. Going back to the start of the day, a man of many headbands. And Burbage. He's had a good time here. He was spotted a time or two in the French Quarter, And then Mike Ditka. Ditka had to benefit from his experiences at being in 2 Super Bowls. Don't you think, Merlin?
He certainly did. Ahmad Rashad talked about it, how loose these Bears were at the beginning of this game. No question about it. Ditka drawing on that experience, and I think recognizing his own intensity, deliberately pulled back in their practices. I went up to watch him work in Champaign, Illinois at the Bubble. A very easy practice, a comfortable practice. No question, they were overly ready to play today.
We're in the final minute of the 3rd quarter, 44-3. We'll give you a word on the injury to McMahon in a moment. There's Weathers, who twisted down by Wilbur Marshall, who was a #1 pick, and he's hurt out of the University of Florida. And speaking of injuries, McMahon's injury is serious enough that he won't play the rest of the day. That injured wrist, and undoubtedly we'll see the man who capably filled in for him, Steve Fuller, in several games during the course of the season.
Earlier in the year, McMahon, who is quite superstitious, was a little bit frightened because he'd been hurt in the 9th game last year, wearing number 9, hurt in the 9th game against the Raiders last year, hurt in the 9th game this year. When the doctors checked on him, they looked at that shoulder. The first answer, the first diagnosis was an operation for McMahon. They got a second opinion happily, and they said a couple of weeks rest would do it, which was true.
First down from the 18. That ball is down when Grogan touched it down at the 30-yard line, and Dan Hampton gets the sack this time. Hampton, who didn't play football till he was a junior in high school. He played the drums, guitar, saxophone, piano, and now plays on quarterbacks.
Oh, does he ever. And I've got to believe that with this overwhelming performance on defense, not just here today, but throughout this year, we'll have more mini Bear defenses popping up very soon.
And we'll be back after these messages from your local station. Statue of Liberty used on the toss of the coin. It came up for the Bears, and so is everything else. 44-3. We open the 4th quarter. Patriots, their deepest drive, appear to be an offside Bears, and Mosi Tutupu. That's the first time he's been in the backfield, unable to handle a pass. Juan Samaron in the crowd here at the Superdome, the International Olympic Committee president, as NBC looks ahead to 88 and our opportunity to cover the games in Seoul, Korea. Two penalties against the Bears, and that was why the confusion. Both illegal use of the hands and offside, both 5-yard penalties, but the penalty, one penalty carries a first down, so the Patriots take that one. In 1963, it was a great year for the Bears. The Patriots, the only other time they went to a championship game was in the American Football League championship. Julius Adams was not in that one. He came a little bit later, and that also was a disastrous result out at Balboa Stadium in San Diego, where the Chargers beat then the Boston Patriots 51-10. Morgan, and Stanley Morgan has first and goal at the 8.
The defensive line coach for the Patriots, Eddie Kayat, was on that team that lost disastrously, and he said, well, he actually was on the team that was going to try and have a chance at the first Super Bowl, which was later. That's 19 years ago, and he said that Mr. Sullivan had bought them sport coats. Let's watch the refrigerator getting iced down on this one. Look out. Ooh.
You think that helmet isn't a weapon?
Ooh.
Grogan throws it away. Tutupu had 2 men there, Dorson and Richardson.
Just quickly to finish that story, 19 years ago, Eddie Kayat was playing for Mr. Sullivan, playing for the Patriots. They were hoping to be in the first Super Bowl, and he bought them sport coats, 3-button sport coats to wear to the game, to the Super Bowl. They never got a chance to wear them, and Eddie's wife kept trying to throw it out over the years. He wore it on the way down here for this game. Maybe now he'll let her throw it out.
That's kind of a bittersweet story. Morgan And he's down for a loss. In case you're wondering, only one team has not scored a touchdown in Super Bowl history. The Miami Dolphins. Do you remember that one? Well, Bob Greasy was involved, and we'll get his reaction in a moment. We'll get that microphone open. There's Steve Fuller getting ready to replace Jim McMahon. Bob, were you healthy that year?
I'm sitting here cringing during this whole ball game, thinking back to when Dallas beat us, whatever it was, 24-3 or something.
Right.
But I remember very well not scoring a touchdown.
Well, here's Grogan trying to get the Patriots off the hook on 3rd and goal. Misses Stanley Morgan. 4th and goal. That was Super Bowl VI, and the Cowboys prevailed 24-3. But Greasy and the Dolphins would make amends. They won the next 2 years. You should see Bob orchestrating that. You look like John Williams in the Boston Pops.
That's the undefeated season.
And then they handed it to the Vikings. Well, the Patriots obviously aren't going to go for a field goal here. And the Bear fans don't want their team to give up a touchdown. But they get it. Irving Fryer. First time they've thrown to him today, and Fryer clutches the Patriots' only touchdown.
Fryer, as we said, once wanted so desperately to make the big play, to do something, felt he'd let his team down. Well, there's a little face saving in putting a touchdown on the board, even though the score is 44-9.
Well, the Bears have only had to kick one, so Fryer hasn't had any chance to return any, and that was that long kick by Buford that Fryer unable to return. Franklin adds the extra point. 13 minutes and 14 seconds left, and the Bears lead by 34.
Welcome back. Well, that touchdown certainly saved the Patriots some embarrassment, but two players on this defense who've had an outstanding night. It's Richard Dent, number 85, number 95, and Steve McMichael, number 76. Richard Dent's been the NFC's leading sacker for the last 2 years, but incredibly, Dent threatened to boycott the Super Bowl because he's only earning $90,000 a year, when some players in his position are making 7 times that. Steve McMichael was told by the Patriots in 1980, who drafted him, that he wouldn't be a success in the NFL. He's pushing people all over the place and getting back to the quarterback all night.
Tony Franklin about to kick off. 44-10. The Bears have already established a Super Bowl scoring record, 44 points. The last 2 Super Bowls, San Francisco and the Raiders scored 38, and we have almost a full quarter to go. Willie Gault. And he's to the 24-yard line. Good hit by number 52, Johnny Rembert. Dallas Cowboys. That's a small world, this world of football. The team picture in 1969, it featured the 2 coaches in the game today. Raymond Berry was an assistant coach for Tom Landry, and the veteran tight end was Mike Ditka.
We asked him how Ditka was as a player, and he said when Ditka got there, Ditka's body had really been hammered, and he was not able to run, but he was still doing some great things. He came back the next year after working out twice a day through all of the spring and summer and actually ran a 4.7 in the training camp.
Steve Fuller has taken over at quarterback, and he knows who to give the ball to. Walter Payton. Roland James makes the stop after a 7-yard gain. And again, for those of you that may be joining us in progress, with the score 44-10, William the Refrigerator Perry has a touchdown. The quarterback McMahon a couple of sneaks for touchdown, but Walter Payton does not have a touchdown, and so much focus on Payton, who labored through years where, well, this is the first year he's run behind a man judged in the Pro Bowl alignment. He's picked up all those record-setting yards behind men judged by their peers as not being Pro Bowl players. nothing there.
Dick, we have talked about the domination by the Bears defensive line. How about this Bears offensive line? Covert and Bortz and Hilgenberg and Thayer and Van Horn. They have been almost as awesome in the way they have been able to control the Patriots defense and to move that ball down the field, clearing broad holes and alleys for their running backs.
You know, this is a team that's not exactly gray in the mustache either. They are the youngest team in the NFC. They average only 25.1 years of age, the Bears. Now, Ditka has really built something special here. Payton out of bounds at the 33. That'll be short of the first down by a couple of yards.
It's been said of the Bears that they are a traditional team, featuring the running attack, featuring their defense, but they also do something that you have to know about. Ditka unhappy even there with a mistake as he talks to his quarterback. They've controlled the line of scrimmage, the best running game in football in the last 3 years, and of course the best defense against the run this year, the #1 defense this year too.
Maury Buford, a former San Diego Charger, acquired in the summer this year by the Bears. Irving Fryer looking for his first chance to return. This is Buford's second kick of the game. That statistic revealing the dominance of the Bears. It's another good one. Fryer at the 30. Tripped up at the 38, and he had a lot of blockers out in front. Jim Bowman made the play that might have saved a touchdown. Have it at the 43-yard line. Or are they going to rule that an incomplete pass?
No, it's a
fumble. Mike Singletary, when you hear the popping, you know he's right around it. But it was Sean Gale who delivered the blow, and Singletary covered the ball.
Sean Gale doesn't get many chances except in the long yardage. He takes advantage of it here as you look from high above. Good pass by Grogan to his tight end across the middle. But watch the hit by Sean Gale right here. Head on the football. Nowhere to go. Singletary, so alert, picks it up.
Here's Gale again as Ramsey comes out, gets the ball, and gets Gale.
Just standing there.
Boy, we've seen it from every man on the team. They just don't hit. They don't just grab you. They really bury a shoulder and a helmet into you. Steve Fuller to Marjoram, incomplete, broken up by Lepet. Well, this game is being televised not only into millions of homes in the United States, but around the world, carried in England live and France and Italy. First time ever People's Republic of China. The QE2 100 miles off the coast of Peru through satellite is watching today, and we wish you all well from New Orleans. And I know there's someone special watching in England, or Daddy.
Well, I'm going to get a critique from my daughter Kelly, who's over there at Cambridge watching this live, staying up late.
A long game for those fellas. Walter Payton, little misdirection. And down at the 41-yard line. Lepet. Ronnie Lepet has played a solid game at that corner against pass and run.
Hurt a couple of times early, but has come back to make some big hits and make some good plays.
He, like Payton, the man he just tackled, when they're not playing football, like to work behind the drums. They can both handle the skins. Miami of Florida. Marjoram, Ortego. Two backup receivers are in. Dennis Gentry is in, and Galt in. So they go with 4 wide. 3rd and 8. Wide open is Payton, but the pass just out of his reach. Payton, along with all of his many marks, is the Bears' all-time receiver. 422. Ditka had 427, but some of those came when he was with the Cowboys.
Well, the Bears have put together an offense that has poked holes in the defense of the Patriots all day long. That ball thrown just a little bit further, and Payton is off and running.
Could you walk on your hands? Could you stand on your hands? They say he can go 50 yards on his hands, Walter Payton.
I'm
That's
afraid
how strong he is.
I might have broken my neck if I'd have tried that.
At least bruise your nose. Buford to punt to Fryer. Oh, beautifully kicked by Buford and down at the 4-yard line. 36-yard punt, and we have a timeout.
Well, now
this one for Papa Bear, the patriarch of the National Football League. 40 years he coached the Chicago Bears. Another thriller in the Super Bowl.
Oh, I tell you, Dick, I still believe that 2-week wait really hurts the teams. Makes it so hard for them to keep the rhythm that they've established during this season. I don't know that the game could live up to the hype that we as part of the media put on it, but I do wish that there was a way of playing that with a 7-day delay.
Patriots start from the 4-yard line. And Grogan from his end zone unloads to Fryer. Just misses connections, and Fryer, frustrated, will return to the huddle in the end zone. The GSH, as most all of you know, but some of you perhaps watching the Bears for the first time, of course, is in tribute to George S. Halas, who told so many marvelous stories. I remember sitting in his office one day and regaling me for a couple of hours as we did a feature on him, and told us about when he went to see Calvin Coolidge, the President of the United States, in Washington, D.C. And Mr. Coolidge, not a football fan, when told that George Halas and the Chicago Bears were there, thought he was going to see a circus act. He was looking for the for the animals, not the football team. Morgan, and he's out to the 18-19 yard line. That'll be a first down. Ron Rivera made the tackle, so the Bears now, you see Cliff Thrift in there, Ron Rivera, as Mike Ditka is going to give everyone a chance to play.
Important that each of those players be able to say, not only was I a part of that Bear team, but I played. I think you'll see Raymond Berry doing the same thing toward the end of this game, giving each of his players a chance to at least get out on the field.
Wholesale changes. There's Michael McCaskey, the 43-year-old grandson of Halas, now the president of the club. Tony Collins, and he's out to another first down at the 30-yard line. Mike Hartenstein, the veteran from Penn State, the oldest Bear, made the tackle, and congratulations already being sent and accepted on that Bear sideline. Willie Gold said, well, Mr. President, how about a bonus then? How about a raise next year? Gold had a big game, and when they needed long yardage, he was there.
I wonder if maybe Richard Dent won't stop him and say, look, I didn't hold out. In fact, I was here all day long today. Maybe we ought to sit down and talk about my contract.
Fryer out of bounds at the 45-yard line with another first down, a 16-yard play. Stops the clock. 8 minutes and 8 seconds left in this Super Bowl 20. Dominated by the Bears. The Patriots forced a fumble early from Walter Payton, got 3 points out of it, but they struggled after that, and the Bears dominating, in fact, New England with only 1 first down the entire first half today.
That's Dawson, Len Dawson on the sideline with that knee propped up. Certainly one of the blows that these Patriots took early took them out of some of their game plan offensively.
Tight end was injured on the first scrimmage play. Another intercept on his way. Tim Morrissey to the 5-yard line. Jim Morrissey, the rookie from Michigan State. Tony Collins saved the touchdown. Morrissey, a 9th-round draft pick. 48 yards on the return. Well, everyone, not only in the act, but everyone doing something they can talk about. That was a gimme.
Ball thrown over the head of Collins. Morrissey just tapped from behind on the heels. 83 Cedric Jones polishing him off after he'd been hit on the heels. by Tony Collins.
This telecast presented by authority of the National Football League is intended for the private use of our audience. Any rebroadcast or other use of this telecast without the express written consent of the National Football League is prohibited.
Tony Collins still down on the far side of the field. As he dove, he must have banged his head on the ground. Looks like he's getting up now, but very slowly. Looking right down from the gondola high above, you see Grogan, and that ball zipping over the head of the intended receiver. And then it's another Bear celebration.
But look at Collins, how he hustled to get to him. He went after him with pride, did he not?
He certainly did.
And so we see number 72. Will Walter Payton get his chance?
I wonder if this, you know, that Patriot defense has got to feel like they've been out there all day, because they have. They have literally been on the field almost the entire day.
So it's 1st and goal with just under 8 minutes left. 44-10. The Bears have invited the Patriots into their den, and the Bears were hardly in hibernation, but they'll sleep well after this one. Payton. Everyone in red knew he was going to get the ball. He pays for it. A couple of yard gain.
Those folks out there aren't lying down on the ground. Did you hear the popping on that play? Whew.
Payton said he wishes he could play defense. He said, I just love to hit. And he is the kind of back that just doesn't come in there side saddling his way. He comes right at you. Perry goes out. John Hanna, the great all-pro guard of the Patriots.
You got to wonder at what must be going through his mind right at this moment.
His brother Charlie has a Super Bowl championship ring with the Raiders 2 years ago.
Steve Moore.
Derek Ramsey. 2nd and goal from the 4. Payton. And a flag goes down. Steve Nelson certainly king on Payton in this situation.
Well, you have to wonder, Dick. The Bears talked about the fact that that loss, that very one-sided game to the 49ers, really set their emotional key for this season and pointed them at this Super Bowl. They flew through the season and they arrived here to carry home their victory. Perhaps this game may do the same thing for the New England Patriots, who proved to be such a wonderful and surprising team in the AFC, and yet have been destroyed here today.
Number 87 on the offense, still 2nd down.
Emery Moorhead, the tight end, with a block, a 10-yard penalty out to the 14. Well, the Bears, hey, you know, the perfect season of the Miami Dolphins was not equaled only because the Dolphins were able to beat the Bears on that Monday night. They had to block a kick and do some other very special things, and it was a well-constructed offense by Shula as Miami beat them 38-24 to deny them the perfect year. Oh, he was beyond the line of scrimmage. Fuller had already crossed the line of scrimmage when he threw the ball. That's a penalty. Illegal forward pass.
And Brett Cashin agrees.
Steve Grogan was actually joking earlier this week. He was going to try to put himself in on special teams. He didn't think he'd get a chance to play at quarterback today, and the slow start by Eason, the way they battered him around, and perhaps Eason's flu had something to do with it. Grogan thrown into the fire.
Illegal forward pass beyond the line of scrimmage. Number 4 on the offense, 5 yards from where it was thrown, plus loss of a down. The 3rd down.
So you get a double dose on that penalty, 5 yards plus losing a down. And so now it becomes 3rd and goal from the 18. Ditka with a deep set eyes, and they're close together, in that furrowed brow, and the way he does his hair, he even has a bare look, does he not? Calvin Thomas, 245 pounds, and it takes a lot to bring him down at the 12. We talked, you did, Merlin, about how Peyton hustles every play, even when he doesn't have the ball.
I think it's like basketball. A lot of times it's what a man does away from the ball that tells you the most about his character. There's Peyton downfield to throw a great block on Steve Nelson. I'll tell you, that hurt.
And we have another injury. Downfield blocking by backs and wide receivers, Bob Greasy. It's something we don't often catch, but boy, the real good teams, their receivers do it.
Well, and I think you have one of the best in the National Football League today, and McKinnon, talking with some of their coaches this week, they likened him to Paul Warfield. When Paul Warfield lined up at wide receiver, all the linebackers and defensive backs knew on which side he lined up.
You mentioned Paul Warfield, now a Hall of Famer, and the Bears enjoying lively. Leslie Frazier, 21, injured earlier. The Tuesday, they will announce the 1986 class into the Hall of Fame. Bob was one of the 15 or so in the running this year. They're down to 7. We want to show you those 7 who will really be holding their breath. And Merlin Olsen, you have to know that feeling. In case you joined us late and you were a New England fan, you would have cherished that moment early. After a Walter Payton fumble, then it was all Chicago. Butler, short field goals to take a 6-3 lead. A couple of fumbles back-to-back by the New England Patriots set up the field goal, and then the touchdown run by Matt Suhey, and it was 20-3 as McMahon rolled into the end zone, one of his 2 sneaks. Butler added another field goal that should not have counted, admitted by the officials, but because of their own error, but little does that matter now. 3rd quarter, McMahon another sneak. Phillips, Reggie Phillips, the rookie, with an interception touchdown. The refrigerator put one up in the ice cream section. Finally, Irving Fryer getting the Patriots touchdown. Garen Veras, the rookie from Stanford, he's had a terrific season, this young man. We'll try to get him to be a little heavier at 255, lightning quick. He had 10 sacks this year to lead I think most of the rookies in the league. That was the #1. He had 4 more here in the playoffs. Boy, he looks like an athlete, doesn't he?
Coming out of Stanford, a good head on his shoulders too, Dick. Even though this is a tragic and sad chapter of New England history, to get so close to that championship and to have things crumble around you, theirs is still an exciting story in 1985.
Indeed. Peyton to the 4. And I know there are many fans, Bear fans, who are not going to leave the Superdome hoping they'll see Peyton score a touchdown. Even though it's 44-10, there's no question there'll be a mighty roar if Peyton should go in, but unable to make it there. Stopped at the 4. That was a 4th and goal after the penalties. They lost it down, of course, with that illegal forward pass. So Peyton will now watch the clock. 5:48 left. Timeout. Bears 44, Patriots 10.
So Chicago Bears 44, New England Patriots 10. And John Smith in New Orleans, your boys came so far, but this last hurdle really did prove too much, didn't it?
Great achievement to make the Super Bowl, the 3 wins on the road in the playoffs. And they say the first time you go to the Super Bowl, you're there for the enjoyment. The second time you come to win, but the Bears have really destroyed that myth. Raymond Berry, the coach of the Patriots, is a unique individual. He's respected by his players. Was a Hall of Fame player. He's quiet and confident, but a very humble person. He's not willing to take any of the limelight from the players. In fact, there's a meeting on Tuesday with all the players in the Patriot organization, and many of us are looking at it as though Raymond Berry could very well retire after only his first season in the pros. It wouldn't surprise me because he puts his family first, and this season's taken a great toll on Raymond Berry and his family. He works so hard. He's such a meticulous person. He wakes up in the middle of the night at 4 o'clock in the morning and something on his mind, so he goes and watches film and analyzes the situation. So it's taken its toll on Raymond. It wouldn't surprise me if he did retire after only his first season in the NFL, taking the Patriots to the Super Bowl.
No question, New England's defense keyed on Walter Payton, and they were successful in that regard. Nothing over 10 yards. But in the meantime, McMahon had some big plays passing, and Matsui early on was a force. Good teams, you can take one player away, but the rest of the guys fill in quickly. Grogan looking for Starring, and good coverage by Reggie Phillips.
Bob Greasy, this has to be the toughest part of a game for a quarterback. Everyone in the park, including us, know that Grogan's going to throw that ball deep, and everybody is dropping back. They're not giving him any room. It's going to be tough.
It's tough, and I'm sure that Steve Grogan, as much as he wanted to play in a Super Bowl, Merlin, would have given that up for a Patriot victory and then let Tony Eason take the whole game.
44-10, the Bears. 46-10, the Bears. He was down, whistled at safety, Chicago. Henry Waxter from Nebraska. Now, I know you Bear fans even call him Henry Wechter up there, but he told Merlin, did he not, that, hey, they're mispronouncing my name.
We walked in and talked to him, Champaign, Illinois, and said, Henry, how do you pronounce your last name? Because I didn't know. He said it's Waxter, just like beeswax. And so, Henry Waxter, congratulations. You've just scored 2 points in the Super Bowl.
Grogan tried to flip it ahead, but was already down on one knee. So, some unlikely names in the scoring column for the Bears today. Phillips and Waxter. Morrissey almost had one.
Well, they had 9 Bears on defense score during the regular season. Now add Henry Waxter's name to that list. And of course, that doesn't count the refrigerator, William Perry, scoring on offense.
Well, what do we conclude from the Bears' dominance this year? And typically, we end a season with a game that's lopsided in the Super Bowl, and we say that team's liable to win the next 4 or 5, but they don't. And it's tough to repeat because then everyone's after the Super Bowl champion. But this young Bear team, playing the way they do on defense, you wonder what could. I mean, they did it without 2 starters that held out this year. They might get them back too. Bell and Harris. Kind of think they'd like to come back. Willie Gault says, I'll just go over here. I'll go into the infield.
Dick, one of the things that concerned me as the Bears played their way through the early part of the year, they played such emotional football that I thought they might burn out. And I said, boy, how do you maintain this pace? Well, I got to give Mike Ditka and his whole staff credit. They were able to keep that energy level up and help this team sustain their play. They were the best team that we saw during the year in the NFL. They played the best football in the NFL all year. And here they are, saving perhaps their best for this Super Bowl game.
Well, Michael Keller Ditka has done a superb job. Fuller will eat it. Ben Thomas, rookie from Auburn, has a sack and a 13-yard loss. 280-pounder. Was a second-round choice by the Patriots in New England, a team that has considerable youth, and it's a team that always thought they might be good, and about the middle of the year they said, hey, maybe we are good, and in the playoffs proved that they are good and can use this as a platform for next year as well. But the sad part of it is they're the last loser of the year. Everyone else is forgotten. They're the ones that we'll have to remember. Fuller trying to hit Tim Reitman, the tight end. The combination of sacks, 7 by the Bears and 3 by the Patriots, is a Super Bowl record, just to clean up that little piece of business.
If you lose a game during the regular season, and I think Bob would agree, you come back and you look at that film and you take what you can pull out of it and you say, hey, next weekend, 7 days from now, we can change all of that. We can be heroes one weekend, we can be bums the next, we can be heroes the next weekend. But when you lose in the Super Bowl, you've got a whole off season to think about this day.
Peyton, the shot you just saw was also flashed up on the television screens here at the Superdome, and that provoked the applause you heard in the background. But apparently his afternoon is through. Fuller dodges Tippett and now throws for Gentry, but he went out of bounds and could not get back inbounds, although bumped out of bounds by the Patriot defense.
Dick, a question for Bob Greasy again, and it goes back to those 3 Super Bowls that back-to-back that you participated in. Losing the first one, losing it badly, did that help to focus the energy of the team? Did Shula use that as a stepping point, if you will, or a starting point for the next year?
No question about it, Merlin. And I can remember his talk in the locker room after the game. It's building towards next year, and the sad feeling in that locker room, having come this far and knowing that you're going to have to go back and do all the hard work just to get back to where you were before that Super Bowl game. We came back and went 17-0. We were really very motivated.
Buford under pressure. Just does get it away to Fryer at the New England 39. Flag down as Fryer out of bounds at the 49. 44-yard punt, 10-yard return. Well, the refrigerator has been part of the Chicago story this year. And what's in there? What is in there? Yeah, we've been chronicling his efforts today. Number 72 on defense, playing a tackle. Oh, driving Grogan. But he suddenly become a star in offense. Wanted to throw for a touchdown. Tucked it away and took half a team to bring him down.
Watch this one, though.
Woo! If he'd have stayed on his feet, they wouldn't have stopped him until he crossed the Mississippi. When you get a high five from him, I bet you know it.
Probably hurt your hand for about a half an hour.
You know, he's such a nice guy. And we were in Houston for the Lombardi Award a year ago when he was one of the 5 finalists.
Got a face mask, number 18 of the kickers, after the ball was returned. Got an illegal block by the receivers. It'll be the receiver's ball at their foul.
Now they'll mark that one off. There's Mike Tomczyk, the backup quarterback for the Bears, the rookie from Ohio State. Now we'll finish the Perry story in a moment because we want to remind you to stay tuned for Super Bowl 20's premiere of the last. Flanker screen to Morgan. No gain. So we said to Perry before I was the MC. It was a black tie affair there in Houston, and said to him, now I'm going to start kidding you about your nickname. I'd never met him before. I'll say you're up in your head, and I'll say now that's where you have all your ice cream and you got some ice cubes up there. And then I went to his chest. That's, you know, there's some milk and a couple of 6-packs in there. And I got done. When I got to 3 pounds of bacon, he picked me up by the belt buckle and lifted me right off the ground and held me there. And with that big, wonderful grin of his, you can see how endearing he is. And for him to do what he's done on offense has really captured the country. Grogan under pressure, has to throw quickly, and it was Waxter in on top of him along with Tyrone Keys. Stephen Starring at the other end. Many thanks. Joe Costanzo is the premier statistician in the business and in our booth throughout the course of every weekend. Joe, many thanks for all your help. Fran Bellini, Jimmy Byrne and his clan, Chris and Caven, John and Steve, John Rice and Bob Sly, thank you all. NFL 85, boy, it's going to be fun. You suppose we'll be able to get Refrigerator Perry and Ditka? Well, we're going to try to, and Bob Costas going to be down in the Bears locker room. We'll get their reaction. Intended for Fryer. The toughest job in all of sportscasting is the other locker room.
And I think it will be particularly difficult today.
The players of the Bears, when you consider, here's a guy that Buddy Ryan said that was a bad draft choice. He didn't like him when they picked him #1. But he's such a good guy that even with all the publicity, the veteran Bears aren't envious. They love him. South Carolina, you bet. Clemson.
I think Buddy used that publicity to motivate this young man to lose some weight more than anything else. He's become a much better football player because of it.
Camarillo roots one to Dave Dorson, who will let it bounce, and they can't stop it from going into the end zone, and it'll be a touchback of the 20, a 51-yard punt.
Dorson did a good job of faking that catch. That ball bounced away into the end zone.
Next Sunday, Thomas Sanders, a rookie from Texas A&M in there, and the quarterback is Mike Tomczak of Ohio State.
One of the questions that Mike Ditka must be asking himself now, what do we do for an encore to this season? Of course, the obvious is the undefeated season, but one of the problems he may have to face is that Buddy Ryan has been rumored to be the next coach of the Philadelphia Eagles. In fact, it's been said that the job has been or will be offered to him shortly. And what happens to this great defense if Buddy Ryan leaves Chicago?
Oh, my. Matsui getting a good hit from Johnny Rembert. Well, Billy Sullivan, the owner of the New England Patriots. We've seen his smile during the playoffs. But those are long memories now. Needless to say, the opposition.
We don't even need the scoreboard, do we?
.43 at the start and about 23 right now. He's about the only one who hasn't played on that Bear sideline.
Well, and appropriately so. I know that they're inside that tough exterior of Mike Ditka's. There's also some compassion. He's been on the losing side many times.
Suey rumbling to a first down. Now Ditka said to us the other day, I want to justify George Halas's confidence in me. I want the old man to be proud of me.
Let me remind you now of Ian Waldridge's look back at the week of the Super Bowl. That's tonight at 10 o'clock on Channel 4. Ian's been in New Orleans since last Monday, and in tonight's program he'll be charting the course of the week from before the teams arrived to the scenes in the city after tonight's game. Ian Waldridge at the Super Bowl is tonight at 10 on Channel 4.
The cold and ice of Wrigley Field in 1963. George Halas and the Monsters of the Midway celebrated the last Bears, the last Chicago major championship. What a fighter he was on the sideline. Lived 88 grand years. When he won it in 63, that man, William Perry, was 1 year old. It's been a long time for Chicago. The most valuable player in this Super Bowl 20, I voted for the right man, Richard Dent, number 95. As he has done all year long, wreaking havoc in the backfield of the opposition, forcing fumbles, his sacks, the sack leader. A day of joy for Richard Dent, who fought the year without a contract and even threatened to not play in this game.
Really? Yeah. Reach for the pocketbook and the checkbook, Mr. McCaskey. I think you may need it. We look at those great pictures of George Halas, and of course, I wasn't 1 year old then, Dick. I was playing against those Bears. Well, there is some sportsmanship in this, in the owner's department as well. I've always felt that it was easy to be a gracious winner than it is to be a gracious loser, though.
Final 2 minutes, 46-10, the Bears. It's the rookie Thomas Sanders from Texas A&M, a number 9 draft pick of the Bears, and Ben Thomas makes the stop for New England. Well, what do you think, Bob Greasy? Do you think that this is a team, the Bears, that are constructed like your Dolphins of the early 70s or the Steelers later in the 70s to dominate the game for a few years?
I think, like you said, Dick, they have a very young team, the youngest in the National Football League. But taking off what Merlin said, if they lose Buddy Ryan, I don't know what's going to happen to that defense. But certainly you got to like their chances.
I don't know that we've ever seen a defense with the kind of shutdown power that these people have. I don't think I've ever seen one.
I can't figure out what they're doing half the time. I've been watching the whole game.
Just glad you're up here. Huh?
Exactly.
Tom sack to Sanders. And the high-stepping rookie is into New England territory at the 49 with a minute to go.
Well, that's been one of the secrets of this Bear defense. With all of their sophistication, they just won't beat themselves. And you go and watch their practice, you get a sense of why that is. They spend a lot of time out on the field. They have one of their meetings out on the field in what they call a concentration drill. They walk through very carefully to make sure that they don't blow their assignments defensively.
Mike Singletary, a genius on the field and running that difficult defense. And this probably the last play of the game. We're getting ready to carry Ditka doesn't want to go yet. He says, wait till I see that final second. Who's going to argue with Perry? He wins most of those. Walter Payton, Mike Ditka, hungry Chicago, finally champions on this January day in New Orleans. 46-10, the final. We'll get the Bears' reaction when we return to the Superdome in New Orleans.
Ravens, the oldest British American football team. Lance Cohn, you're the head coach. What do you think of the game?
Well, Nicky, I was hoping the Bears would win it, but I hoped it would be a little bit of a tighter game. But any victory is a good one, and it's been a super game for the Bears.
Now, when do you think you guys are going to be close to the standard of the NFL?
Well, I reckon in about 10, 11 years' time, we'll be ready to take them on.
10 years, you reckon?
I reckon 10 years, ahead of us there.
Now, you've had some success against some American teams, haven't you?
Yeah, we've beat Chicksands, the American Air Base, on their own ground on Independence Day. So we was very proud of that.
So are you in training at the moment?
Yes, we are. The veterans start on Sunday. Okay, and then from there we'll be training until April when the season starts.
Well, I wish you the best. Lance, I have to own up that I think I owe you some money, don't I?
Well, we did have a little bet when somebody who's not too far away from me chose the Seattle Seahawks for the Super Bowl, and I did suggest the Bears. So, yes, Nicky, I'll have one on you.
Yeah, well, I realize that I actually owe you some money there, but at the beginning of the season I said the Seahawks, and who knows. Now, all the American commentators, a lot of American commentators have been saying to me over recent weeks, the game has progressed over here. There are now 200 teams. There are a couple of leagues. How long do you think it's going to take before, you know, you're actually at a college standard? Briefly.
Well, I think we could probably play third division college now. But the pros, that'll take another 10 to 15 years.
I wish you the best of luck. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just attacked them and took the momentum away from them and then never looked back.
Well, they're going through the ritual now down in the Chicago Bear locker room of a prayer, and Mike Ditka with a word to his team. And as soon as we get word, we'll go down to Bob Costas and we'll get the presentation of the trophy, the Lombardi Trophy, to the Super Bowl champion Chicago Bears. We'll return to the Superdome in New Orleans, but first we pause for these important words.
John Smith in New Orleans. Obviously, the Bears now are going to become very, very rich men in the offseason, aren't they?
They will. One of the perks of being in the Super Bowl is having the opportunity to endorse many products on television, in the press, being spokesman for certain companies. William Perry, no doubt, will earn over $1 million this year. Other players like McMahon, Dent, Fenwick will probably get opportunities to be on TV whenever they like. Even players on the average players on the squad will be able to get around $5,000 a night on speaking engagements in the off-season. So they can make more money in the off-season than on their regular contracts.
That's incredible.
Montana, for instance, last year made $500,000 just from a shoe company. $250,000